Nothing is real but God. Nothing matters but love for God. God is the only reality. All else that seems real is illusory. God and I are one. Meher Baba. But God. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Thanks to beloved Baba and Jai Baba to all of you. We are reading God Speaks to please our beloved Lord Meher Baba because he wished that we should read God Speaks at least once in our lifetime. We are on part 9, which is the 10 states of God. We were reading page number 160, and there were supplements 33 and 34. So right now we are reading supplement number 34, and this session also is session number 34. We are midway the supplement number 34. So Soumya would read it, and to my understanding, it doesn't require much explanation because it's more on the Sufi terminologies, the Tawhid and other aspects. So as and when I feel like interjecting, I will come in. Otherwise, she would keep reading the supplement. Yeah, go ahead. We are on page number 262.
Wujudiya and Shuhudiya. Amongst the various types of Unitarians, Ahle Tawhid, the most important and controversial are the two schools of thought known as Wujudiya and Shuhudiya. Muinuddin ibn Arabi is the greatest advocate of the Wujudiya school, upholding Wahadat ul Wujud, unity of existence, which in Vedanta is Advaitism, upheld by its greatest exponent, Shankaracharya. According to Ghazar-e-Ilahi, Ibn Arabi held that existence, wujud, is not more than one and is the very same, is manifest to itself by itself like water which is manifest to itself in the form of eyes by way of limitation. When the state of fana, the limitation, the form disappears, the absolute remains and becomes who, he. That means in English, he.
So these are the various opinions of Sufi scholars which Baba has incorporated in the supplement. And in the earlier sessions, we said that most of the supplement had been written by Dr. Ghani, who was himself a very highly educated Sufi scholar. And Baba gave the bundle of supplements as well as the main text to the editors, which is Ivy Odius and Don Stevens, and said, just look it up and see if you feel like adding it, you may use it. And both of them felt that since Baba has given, we should incorporate that as a supplement. So basically, these are the different opinions of Sufi scholars connected with. And one brilliant thing which Baba has done here, and I had repeated earlier also, is that he said that I have come to bring all religions like beads on one string. So this book, in a sense, where you can see the mysticism, the Christian mysticism, the Vedantic thought, and the Sufi thought all brought in one place so that we need not fight with each other. We know that this is what it means in Sufism, this is what it means in Vedantism, and this is what it means in mysticism. So carry on.
Sheikh Shahabuddin Suhrawardi, one of the chief sponsors of the Shuhudiya school, characterizing its philosophy as Wahadat ul Shuhud, apparentism, the Vishishta Advaita of Vedanta, maintains that in Fana, Banda, the limited, becomes Kanahu, who, like him, and not who, he, as iron in the fire, which becomes like fire, but not fire itself. The reality of iron being quite different from that of fire. The Shuhudiyas define two different existences, Zat, and two distinct things in view, iron and fire. The iron becomes fire temporarily, and then iron is iron and fire is fire. Mirza Jan Janan says that the relationship between the unmanifest aspect of God and the manifest aspect of God is that which exists between the ocean, the waves, and the bubbles. And this multiplicity does not in any way affect or interfere with the oneness of reality. This is Wahdat ul Wujud, identityism. In contrast with this, the other position determining the relationship between God and the created as that of the original and its shadow, or the sun and its rays, is Wahdat ul Shuhud, apparentism. Wahdat ul Wujud of Moinuddin ibn Arabi is from the heights of Ahadiyat, conscious unity, and the gnosis pertaining to this stage is therefore Hama Ust, everything is He. Wahdat ul Shuhud of Sheikh Shahabuddin Suhrawardi, also known as Mujadid, is from the same heights of reality, Hakikat, but the gnosis expressed is Hama az Ust, everything is from Him. The two doctrines and the resultant controversies are a later development at the beginning of the present Daure Kalandri, cycle of mastery, and so did not arise during the lifetime of the Arabian prophet. The doctrine of the Wujudiyas is based on experience plus reason, and the Shuhudiyas base it on experience and the Quranic aspects of common interest. Ibn Arabi denies transcendence and immanence, which imply duality. He maintains that God is one and it is He alone who exists. All else that appear to exist are His manifestations or tajalliyat. Hence, God is identical with sifat, attributes, and all divine names are identical with the named, which is Allah. The saints who belong to the Wujudiya school of thought have their eyes on the oneness of existence, Wahid ul Wujud. The first tajalli, manifestation of God from the state of Ahadiyat, and therefore the later devolutions, namely mental, subtle, and gross worlds, are like a shadow, zil, which is nothing and as such constitutes an adumbration on Zat, divine essence. The shadow, Zil, however, owes its existence to and is dependent upon God, who is infinite and eternal. Thus, the shadow also is in the sense that the Wujudiyas look upon everything as God, even the shadows, mental, subtle, and gross worlds, which have no independent existence. The Shuhudiyas, as said before, hold two Zats, the one of reality and the other of non-reality, the one of God and the other of Banda. The Zat of Banda is zero, Adam, and this Adam, nothingness, is relational, izafi, and is not real, hakiki. If nothing, Adam, is to be considered as an essence, reality, then there will be two Zats, which results in dualism. The Adam izafi is only relatively an Adam, nothing. It is mere zero. If any number of zeros are added to a zero, the value of the number does not change. This Adam, the Mujadid, only reaffirmed and re-emphasized the doctrine of Wahdat ul Shuhud, apparentism, originally founded by Abdul Karim al-Zili, the author of Al-Insan ul-Kamil. The spiritual fact, however, is that Vujudiya philosophy is of a loftier kind and admits of no considerations of convenience or compromise. The Gnosis of Meher Baba is equally applicable to both these approaches to truth, and in order to follow it as given in the 10 states of God, some familiarity with the Sufi way of delineating the tanazulat, the devolutions of the Absolute, through successive stages of manifestations known as Khamsa Wujudat, 5 existences of the Sufi world, would be of help to the seeker. The gnosis of all perfect Sufis implies that God in the beyond state is unknowable and undefinable. In comprehending this state of God, Vara ul Vara, which is beyond, the wings of thought and imagination are paralyzed. In the beyond state, the absolute God, Wujud-e-Mutlaq, is. The Sufis have described this transcendent state of God in many ways, such as Gaib ul Gaib, the hidden of the hidden, Majhul un Nat, the unknowable and the undefinable. It is in this state that there is no knowledge of itself for Zat. Munkata ul Izharat, the state in relation to which all indications are dropped. Al-Ama, the dark mist, which implies a state of latent potentiality of God in relation to its inward aspect of beyond the beyond and its outer aspect of ahadiyat, conscious oneness, in which Zat is aware of its transcendent unity.
So we are now comparing the Sufi thought with what Baba has given in God Speaks, and what we just spoke the last few lines were the state 1 of God in the 10 states of God, which is known as the beyond state of God, Parat Par Brahma state, Vara ul Vara state, or Gaheb ul Gaheb state. These 4 we keep repeating, but there are many more Sufi terminologies where nothing can be said about it. Your imagination is paralyzed. You just can't, your wings, you cannot flow into that direction. And Baba goes on to say that even those who have realized God, they are God realized, they can also explain up to the beyond state of God and cannot explain anything about the beyond state of God. So that is state 1 as per the chart of the 10 states of God.
Meher Baba explains that although God from the beyond state, conscious oneness, cannot return to the beyond state, he knows that he was and is infinite existence, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss, and from that knows that his original state was the beyond state. Zat al-Bahat.
So you start from the beyond state of God, Parat Par Brahma state. That's the starting point of the journey, and you end at the beyond state. You never go back to the beyond state. You end at the beyond state, but in the beyond state, which is conscious union, you are conscious of the unconsciousness of the beyond state of God. This is like a spiritual dichotomy. How can you be conscious of unconsciousness? But Baba says that is the highest you can reach in the beyond state of God.
However, with a view to making the subject intelligible to the seekers, the Sufis have treated the divine theme in terms of devolutions or manifestations of 5 different types, thus: Khamsa Wujudat, or 5 kinds of existence. 1. Wujud ul Wujud. Unitary existence is the first manifestation or tajalli-e-awwal in the alam-e-lahut of the real sphere and comprises the stage of ahadiyat, conscious oneness. 2. Arif ul Wujud, knowing existence, is the stage associated with Hakikat-e Muhammadi, reality of Muhammad, or Noor-e Muhammadi, light of Muhammad. There's an asterisk. Hakikat-e Muhammadi is God's original word realized. Noor-e Muhammadi is God's original word expressed. Hakikat-e Muhammadi includes Noor-e Muhammadi, but Noor-e Muhammadi does not include Hakikat-e Muhammadi. The stage of Hahut in the sphere of reality. This is in the stage of reality. This is the stage of Wahidiyat, conscious of Wahidiyat, conscious oneness, conscious of oneness in manyness. It is the second manifestation, the Tajalli-e-Dowam. Dowam.
Here also the Sufi thought talks about the 5 existences, and Baba had given us a chart on the 5 the composite sphere. We have done that, the gross, and then there are 7 layers which are the lower composite, then the subtle, then the mid composite, then the mental, and then the real sphere. So in other words, more or less Baba is trying to tally that with what he has already said, with what the Sufi thoughts are all about. The gross sphere, the subtle sphere, the mental sphere, the composite sphere, and the real sphere. The real sphere is the seventh plane of consciousness. We did that earlier, if you remember, yeah.
Number 3, Mumtan al-Wujud, negative existence, is the 3rd stage of manifestation, Tajalli-e-Sewwam. This is Alam-e-Jabrut, the mental sphere, at which point the stage of Wahadiyat, oneness in manyness, begins. Evolution.
Sorry?
Evolution, negative existence, oneness in manyness begins. Mumkin ul Wujud, possible existence, amongst other things, comprises the world of angels and spirits and is known as Alam-e-Malakut, the subtle sphere, which is the sphere of energy. This represents the Tajalli-e-Chaharam, the 4th stage of manifestation. Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, comprises everything relating to gross existence. It is known to the Sufis as Alam-e-Nasut, the gross sphere, the 5th aspect of manifestation, the Tajalli-e-Panjam. These represent the 5 devolutions of God from the beyond state known as the Jaliyat-e-Khamsa, 5 manifestations, or Khamsa Wujudat, 5 existences. Now, we shall treat each one of them in the ascending series, beginning with Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, and ending with Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence. In the domain of Shariat, law, Wajib
First
ul
we were the devolution from the real to the mental, to the subtle, to the gross. Now we are going the other way around again. Necessary existence, which is gross. Okay.
and ending with Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence. In the domain of Shariat law, Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, means to the theologian the absolute God, from whom all grades of existence derive their being. The Sufis, on the other hand, use the term to denote everything that is gross and material. Here, Wujud means body, since the evolving soul in stone, vegetation, animal, and human form cannot be said to evolve without the gross mediums composed of 5 elements. This gross existence in the stage of Wajib ul Wujud is a great boon conferred by God, as without it, the achievement of the stages of perfection, sainthood, and leadership would be unthinkable. The gross body is a wonderful and unique mechanism which has in it all the other 4 relative and real existences, the subtle, mental, and supramental, and God Himself. Hence, the human body is called by the Sufis as Alam-e-Saghir, microcosm, which is the epitome of Alam-e-Kabir, macrocosm, which comprises all the five existences, the mystery of which no one can unravel without the help of the universal mind of a perfect master or the savior.
In other words, Baba also explains that in the stone form itself, the human form is imbibed, And then once Baba explains with a rolled up doll we call it, with hands like this, legs like this, and then gradually as the evolution takes place, the hands come out, the legs come out, and then, the position, recumbent position, as in the stone and the metal, and then head below and the limbs up as in the vegetables, and then again in the animal recumbent, and then in the human being. Same thing what they are trying to convey is that in the human form is already, in a sense, we already have the divinity within ourselves, or it only needs to be unfolded, it only needs to be manifested. And Baba says the way of manifestation is neti, as we say in the Aarti, not this, not that. And Baba gave a wonderful prayer which I had been repeating, which he gave to the mandali to be recited for a certain period of time. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not this, I am not that. I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be. So in other words, the human form comprises of everything. All that we need to do is shake ourselves off what we are not, and what we are will automatically manifest itself. Another statement from Baba is that spirituality is not a gathering or an accumulation from without, from outside. It is an unfoldment from within. It's already there. A human being is already, and for that matter, all creatures, is already God plus the impressions or the sanskaras. The reincarnation process is only meant to loosen the sanskaras so that all the sanskaras fall off and then God manifests. So basically, now they are explaining in their own language that a human form or a gross form includes everything that needs to be included.
Wajib ul wujud, necessary existence or gross sphere, derives its existence from or is the reflection of mumkin ul wujud, subtle sphere. The relationship between God and creation at this stage is that of the Lord and the slave. The evolving consciousness or mind of this stage is called nafs-e-amara, evil self, and it has the natural tendency to enjoy anything that is gross. Here, the idea of God's relation to man is known as Tawhid-e-Akhwali, verbal unity of God, which acknowledges the existence of God orally. Mumkin.
So indirectly, my interpretation would be what they are trying to convey is that the gross existence depends upon the energy of the subtle existence. I have been repeating this often that when you go to Mehrazad, in the cupboard, on the right hand side last, there are 4 cups: gross, subtle, mental, God, which Baba had explained during his physical ministry, that the gross depends upon the subtle, and the subtle is independent of the gross, but is dependent upon the mental. Similarly, mental is independent of the subtle and the gross, but is dependent upon upon God, and God is independent of all the 3, and they all are dependent upon God. And the sizes are such that within the God mug or class, the mental goes first, then the subtle goes, and then the gross goes. So in other words, we are all encompassed in what is known as God. We can never, ever be separated from God. We are all within God. But because of the bubble around the drop soul, we experience ourselves as separated from the ocean, as other than the ocean, but we are in the ocean. We have done it earlier that the Atma is not only in Paramatma, but Atma is Paramatma. We did that earlier. So basically that's what, and again I keep repeating because that's one of my favorites, there is no creature which is not destined for the supreme goal, as there is no river which is not winding its way to the sea. So in other words, we are all destined to experience unity or oneness or Advaita or bliss at the end of the journey. There is no soul which will never not experience that. On the drawing board, what we call it, the plan is such that every creature finally experiences that I am the creator, something like that.
The blueprint.
Sorry?
The blueprint.
The blueprint, yeah, the blueprint is such. There's no way in which you cannot reach or would not reach there.
Mumkin ul wujud.
So that was for the gross. Now we are talking about the subtle sphere in their own language, in the Sufi language.
Mumkin ul wujud is possible existence or subtle sphere, derives its existence from mumtan ul wujud, mental sphere.
So it derives its existence from the mental sphere. Mental is the one which creates energy. Energy is the one which creates matter. Matter, energy, mind. It's like that.
Herein, the relationship between God and his manifested attributes is of the sort that exists between father and children. Here, God is kind, merciful, and vigilant towards his children who are carefree with no thoughts of punishment or reward, no desire for knowledge, and no craving for spiritual attainments. And such entities are commonly known as angels.
So angels are, you can say, they have never ever taken a body. At the time of creation, they were hanging sort of, between the subtle and the mental that way. And they are unembodied souls. That's the correct word. They are not polluted with the embodiment. They are unembodied. And Baba says that they do the will of God. They know exactly what God wants, what the Master wants. And they are called angels. They are abdals. When you pray to the Master, all of a sudden you get help. And Baba would say, I swear I don't know what you are saying. Oh Baba, you help me, but I don't know, please tell. And then Baba would say, these are my angels, or these are my agents, or these are my abdals who have helped. So they are angels, unembodied soul. And Baba says that they are in a sense very privileged to help God, but in a sense they are not as fortunate as human beings because they don't have love. They do not have love. And in order for them to experience God realization, they must take a form. And that form, they take only one form, and once they come on earth as human beings, in that form itself, they realize God and become one with God. So Baba talked about angels and archangels in that manner. At one place, Will and Mary Beckett, Baba would say that they are my archangels. They are my archangels.
See, here it is in the composite world, between the middle and the higher, is the abode of archangels.
Archangels. But here they are talking angels. That's why I say, between the mental and the higher, there are archangels. Between the mental and the subtle, there are angels.
Between the gross and the subtle, it's the abode of the disembodied and
that
the
is different.
unembodied.
Yeah.
Did you say disembodied?
Yeah. No, I said unembodied. So between the gross and the subtle world, that is the abode of, when we drop our body, we reside in what is known as the astral world or the semi-subtle world, where all disembodied souls, after that, they stay there and either enjoy or suffer the happiness of heaven or the suffering of hell. It's a mental state. So that is between the gross and the subtle. It's not a subtle world. Elsewhere, Baba explains, it's like an egg. When you break an egg, you find there is a shell of the egg and there is a white of the egg. The white is the subtle, but between the shell and the white, there's a very thin membrane. That is the astral world or the semi-subtle world where disembodied souls reside. That between the subtle and the mental, the angels reside. And between the mental and the real sphere or God, the archangels reside. And angels and archangels have never taken a body, they are unpolluted through a physical form. That is why they are called unembodied souls. Go ahead.
Mumtan. Oh, Baba.
Read the whole paragraph.
No, the consciousness of the sphere. Beta, I'm sorry, Baba. And such entities are commonly known as angels.
Correct.
The consciousness of the sphere, alam-e-malakut, is styled as nafs-e-lawama, reproachful self. And the cognition of God at this stage is called tawhid-e-af'ali, unity of action, which means the entities of this world are exclusively busy with their appointed task of remembering God. Mumtan ul Wujud, negative existence or mental sphere, contains the fifth and sixth planes of the path, which at this stage reaches Wahidiyat, oneness in manyness. Wahidiyat begins from the fifth and reaches its zenith in the sixth plane and has explicit in it all the details of creation comprising the subtle and the gross planes. This is the Alam-e-Jabrut, which derives its existence from and is the reflection of Arif ul Wujud, the state of Hakikat-e-Muhammadi. It is called Mumtan ul Wujud or negative existence for the simple reason that this Mumtana, that reason that Mumtana means that which is non-existent, and Wujud means the form or body of existence. Thus, the word Mumtan ul Wujud signifies that the form is non-existent therein. This stage is akin to the seed which contains within it the potential for the roots and branches of the tree which, when fully evolved and manifest, go to represent the subtle and gross planes. The Sufis know this as La Maka, in which all ideas of time and space coverage to a point. Meher Baba. Converge to a point.
From Baba's standpoint, now I can only speak about Baba's point of view. The fifth plane and the sixth plane belong to the mental world. The fifth planar is known as a wali or a friend of God. The sixth person on the sixth plane is known as the Peer. He is also known as Satpurush. Satpurush is one who sees Sat. He is seeing Sat means the truth. Because the sixth plane, the Peer's experience is wherever he sees, he only sees God. Baba says the fifth plane belongs to the world of thoughts. All kinds of thoughts, good thoughts, bad thoughts, etc., etc. They can control thoughts, they can manipulate thoughts, they can infuse thoughts, they can read thoughts all over the creation. And same for the sixth is for the feeling. So Baba uses the word, the sixth planar gets the feeling of seeing God in everyone and everything, and yet is not one with God. So that is the last vestige of samskaras, is the third eye or the inner eye or the spiritual eye. Only when that final samskara is dropped, that is where you become one with God. So this is Baba's explanation. Here this is the Sufi terminology. Go ahead, Samya. The consciousness of the mental sphere.
Yeah. The consciousness of the mental sphere is called by the Sufis nafs-e-mutmainna, meaning beatified or satisfied self in the fifth plane, and nafs-e-mulhima, meaning inspired self in the sixth plane. Herein, the relationship between God and creation is that of beloved and the lover, and the idea of God in these stages is known to the Sufis as Tawhid-e-Ahwali, unity of feeling. This is the stage known as Hakikat-e-Insani, reality of man, wherein man comes face to face with God but has not yet shed his ego and is still in the domain of duality.
So he is still in illusion. And when Baba says love is a gift from God to man, obedience is a gift from master to man, surrender is a gift from man to master. When Baba talks about love, he talks about that love which is a gift which is rarely given to someone. Because the moment this gift is given, the recipient of the gift is like, Baba uses the word, like fish flopping out of water and wanting to go back to water. The love is such that it wants to become one with the beloved, but it knows that it will take him so much time to become one with the beloved. He sees the beloved everywhere and in everything, but he knows that I am yet not one with. That longing comes at that, the real longing comes at that late stage, so to speak, on the sixth plane of consciousness.
Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence.
Existence. No, there is longing, but not the longing. Longing. There's no
Like,
longing.
fish
Yeah.
flopping off out of what? Like, I only want Baba. I want nothing else.
We say that,
We
but
only,
do
that's
we
why
really?
you only speak, like you're not using, it's only you're not even craving for it. You're just so happy living in the gross existence of all the wonderful things that Baba's created for us.
Like
So we're enjoying his creation.
Yeah, one of Baba lovers. Baba, I love you so much. I want to become one with God. Baba says, if you really wanted to become one with God, you would not have remained the separate self wanting to become one with God. You would have already become one with God. That means the real longing is something quite different. We say we love God, but it is just a
But
saying.
it's just beginning.
Yeah, it's
They're
a
in
beginning, yeah.
kindergarten.
But when Baba talks about that longing on the sixth plane, which is really, first of all, you have no consciousness of your body because you have already crossed over the gross plane. You have no consciousness of the energy, that means you don't have any powers to do miracles and anything. You have already transgressed the domain of the thought. So there is no thought in the sixth plane, person on the sixth plane. He only has feelings, you see. And what is it at least I cannot explain till you reach there, because it is something so beautiful, so lofty, that there is nothing besides God for him. And he sees God. The point is, he sees God. A sixth planer, when he sees Rakesh or Rochit, they will not identify you as Rakesh or Rochit. They will see God in you. They will experience everything and everyone as God. And there is an
Except
intense
themselves.
longing
Except
to become.
themselves. They can't see themselves as God.
Yeah.
They can see God in everything. And that is the chasm.
That is the chasm, that is
a
the
chasm.
valley between the duality and the oneness. And you can't reach that unless there is an active help of a living perfect master or the avatar who's the eternal living perfect master. Very rarely one soul, Baba spoke about that of Aurobindo Ghosh, that very rarely somebody of his own effort through meditation, he reached the sixth plane of sixth, but he could not jump over to the seventh. It is like going from the ground floor of your building to the highest building you may have as many story to the top floor. But from the top floor now you have to jump to the sky, which you don't know how to do that. That is where the aid of a living perfect master or the avatar is absolutely necessary. And for Aurobindo, the way I read it and I perceive it, that at the time when he was passing over or he was about to pass over, Baba had called for a photo frame of Aurobindo in his bedroom. And so I don't know whether it was Adi, he was there in Ashiana in Bombay. And the next day the news came that Aurobindo has passed over, and Baba did say in his own inimitable way that I helped him and I pushed him from the sixth to the seventh.
But also it is said that when you are on the sixth plane, when you drop your body, you automatically achieve.
Yeah, that also is there in
Realization.
God Speaks, that once you are on the sixth plane, at the time of dropping the body, you realize God. That is, it's like automatic. You don't have to come back again. that way. But for this, Baba did say that I helped him. But I'm sure even at the time, Soumya, at the time of dropping, there must be some help coming from the existing perfect masters. They know that he has come up to the sixth plane, now let us just give him a toss and put him on the seventh, like that. All by itself, they may not be able to do it. Yeah. Nobody gets God realization after
In
you
the
drop the
body.
body. The experience of God realization, which is the experience of infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss, is to be had only when in physical form, only when on earth, nowhere else in the other planets. Only so it got. But mukti you can have it after. Najat mukti or ordinary mukti sometimes comes even after 3 to 5 days after dropping the body. That is moksha or mukti. But if you are talking about God, in mukti you only experience infinite bliss. In God realization you experience all the three. Even if it is for a split second, just before dropping the body, you may realize God and drop the body. Because the purpose for which the body is given has been served. So what is the need for continuing?
Somewhere Baba has also given, I think various masters and people who have realized God realization, who have attained. Like I remember reading, Vivekananda was in the God realized state for 4 hours. Like that. So, there is, Baba, in his literature, I read once upon a time. So, not Mera, I don't know where. Now, this is Baba, Cyrus is saying, Baba would always, about Mera's spiritual status, he would say, she is illumined, but she is veiled. When you say illumined, from Baba's literature, I am saying it, illumined means sixth planar, but she is veiled.
The mind seeing the soul is illumination. That is on the sixth plane. And the mind being annihilated, manonash, and the soul remains, becomes one with the soul, that is realization.
So obviously if she is illumined, when Baba says she is illumined, but she is veiled, so when she must have
even for Gustaji,
Baba had said, of course, Baba said that very emphatically. He said that he's realized me. It is only for Gustaji.
That is the only soul for whom Baba has said he has realized me at the time of dropping his body. Otherwise, for many people, Baba has said he has come to me. He has been released from the rounds of births and that means he has achieved mukti or moksha. But for Gustaji, he specifically said he has realized me. What realization?
Yes. Yeah. But he had a circle. Mandali is not circle. Circle is circle. Mandali can be circle and need not be circle. So when they were in Manzile Meem, in Ramju's diary, he has made a mention of for whom he suffered what, and he had said this number 1 of my circle number, and for Ghani he had said he's number 7 of my circle. So those people will definitely be blessed with God realization.
All in the circle will realize God during the Autaric period.
Yeah, during the Autaric period, which is 100 years from his manifestation.
For Gustaji, Baba had said that he is the driver. I am the engine and he is the driver. So for different people, he would say he is the track, he is the link between the two wagons, he is this wagon. During Manzile Meem time, Baba used to say all
he was very explicit at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Baba to every now and then he would make people sign.
Means he was so. Yeah. He was so looking forward to giving us that, that's what we are not actually craving. We are not actually craving for it. He is the one who is after us.
These are all past connections. You see, it's not. We may not.
No, because we are reading.
You can't be in a circle just like that. Yes, Dasneem. No, you don't come back. After mukti, you don't come back. That is where, see, in my wish, the last point is, I say with my divine authority to each and all that whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing, his last comes to me. So what then C.B. Purdom, Charles Purdom asked Baba once, what is the meaning of comes to me? That is where Baba explained, comes to me means that particular soul will experience bliss, infinite bliss, eternally. That soul will achieve moksha or mukti or liberation. That soul will never come back in the round circle of births and deaths. And then he went on to explain that it doesn't mean perfection, because perfection means God realization, means infinite knowledge, power and bliss. But for mukti or moksha, it is only bliss.
That is why Baba's asked us to take his name at the time of breathing our last.
And we have to start practicing.
We have
That's
to
why
try.
Baba says,
Even in
unless
this
you
10
start
stage-
practicing from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches.
See, in the 10 states of God, if you see the diagram, there is one where it goes straight to 2B. Straight.
We'll be doing the 10 chart in more details later on, but since we are on the
We are
supplement,
going
let
to
us
read-
finish the supplement. And okay, since we are on supplement, I just thought, because I might forget, one of our dear friends, Perin Jasumani, she lives in Toronto, she made us notice, I don't know how far it is right, I'll have to read through all my previous sessions, where she said, you have jumped from supplement 30 to supplement 32 without covering supplement 31. It should not have happened, but it could happen after all. So when we come to that, when we finish this next session, which is tomorrow or maybe some other time, we will go through supplement number 31 exclusively later on, which is on action and inaction. Very beautiful supplement. We'll come to that. So now at the moment, we'll continue with supplement number 34. Go ahead.
Really?
Yeah, we'll let me first go
Yeah,
through the
but
earlier
see-
sessions.
No, if she has said it, she's because she follows very.
She follows very meticulously with the book, and she's a regular. So we'll look into that later on.
Yeah, I've got lost.
You got lost? Good. Hanging between third and fourth plane, or which plane? Yeah. Yeah. Natasha is asking, one who, I'm repeating because people online should also know what the question is. One who gets moksha is not going to come back in the human form, so they are not going to get God realization, is what you say. Well, my understanding is most people who are destined to get God realization. Many people have asked this question, that Baba had said about money, that she will become a perfect master. Now, money being money, all the time it is nothing but Baba, Baba, Baba. So obviously when she dropped her body, she must be remembering Baba. So according to the last wish, point number 6, she should have got moksha or mukti. And according to mukti or moksha, you are not going to come back. So our limited understanding is that those who are destined for God realization, even though they may remember Baba when they are breathing their last, because their destiny is not moksha, but God realization, they would be coming back and then tread the path to realization and then realize God. This is my understanding. Nowhere I have read it, but this is my understanding. Is that your question? Does it address? Yeah. So if you want God realization, then you should remember not to remember Him, so that you come back again and get God. Sorry? Yes. Correct. But elsewhere, see, now for example, we have already done fana and fana fila, where Baba says fana is not the real goal. Fana fila is the goal. In fana, you achieve moksha. If you drop your body in fana, you achieve mukti or moksha. But if you still retain your body and achieve fana fila, then that is God realization. And you go in a state of mazubiyat. You become a mazub, where you are no consciousness of creation, no consciousness of self. That is in 10 states of God, that is state 8. And then you go straight to state 2B, which is where all God realized soul enjoy their apartments and they're happily. Yeah. So elsewhere Baba says that if you are not destined for God realization, fana is enough. According to me, it's enough for me. Nirvana and nirvikalpa. And that is where, many people feel that Buddha said that there is no God. But Baba says, how can it be that Buddha said that, how can it be that there is no God? Because God is existence itself. God is eternal, God is existence, God is omnipresent, God is, So Baba says that in the state of fana, it is God plays the part of consciousness. or the other way around. In other words, in fana, you are not conscious of anything but I am God state. That way. So, yeah, go ahead, please. Why only some souls? My understanding is, if every soul gets God realization or mukti very fast, then God will become unemployed because he has to keep the game going, the leela going. So he has funneled it in such a way. Why in a corporate where there are thousands and thousands of employees, why there is only one CEO? It goes like this. So we have to keep on struggling to go from the gross to the subtle, to the mental, and then become God realized. But Baba has given a shortcut. That's what I'm trying to say. The shortcut is open to everybody. Whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. What does it mean? It means it's a shortcut. If you don't want to go through the rigmarole of all this gross, subtle, mental and all that, just continue to remember him. And if we are fortunate to remember him when we breathe our last, it is Baba's promise, it is Baba's assurance that we will achieve moksha or mukti, which is liberation, which is no more coming births and deaths, which is experiencing infinite bliss eternally. Then you to remember not to remember him. Otherwise you will get moksha. Yeah, Jamie has a question. He wants to share. He wants to share something.
Yes.
That's a very intelligent question, which we have taken it in our earlier session. That Baba says that God realization is an individual achievement. That means the finite, limited, separative, egocentric mind, where the bubble is there. When the bubble bursts, only that particular individualized ego mind gets transformed into the divine ego. In the very first chapter we did, if you remember, that ego is the real thing. Somebody said, oh, ego is very wrong. Ego is real. Ego is existence. Ego cannot be annihilated. You cannot do away with ego. Ego is real. It is astitva, existence. It is the mind which is to be annihilated, the separative ego mind which is to be annihilated. So when that one particular drop soul is able to burst the bubble, the experience for that one particular individualized drop soul is Aham Brahmasmi, Analhak, I am God state. That particular drop soul achieves God realization. Otherwise, as you very rightly and intelligently said, since we are all one, the very first soul when experienced Eureka, Aham Brahmasmi, I am God, the entire ocean would have shouted, I am God, and then what would have happened? What I said a few sentences before, God would have become unemployed. So he wants to keep himself running, the show running, as we say, Leela. And that is why the modus operandi, the mechanism is such that only that particular soul will experience I am God state. Okay. Whatever.
You had the question for 15 years.
Oh, you had that question for 15 years. Now it is sorted out, no? Okay.
Hey, I'm lost.
Go ahead.
Wahid ul Wujud. I've done Wahid ul Wujud.
Never mind, you can. Yeah, correct. You may repeat it. What is that?
Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. In the state of Vara ul Vara, God, according to the Sufis, was a hidden treasure and wanted to be known. No sooner did the hidden treasure express a desire to know itself than it became aware of itself as light, Noor, or Noor-e-Muhammadi, which has implicit and latent in it the existence of all the creation and the manifest world, And it is in relation to this that Prophet Muhammadi has said, Prophet Muhammad has said, quote, God created my light first, and from my light the universe came into being, unquote. This is the aspect of Jamal, beauty, in the knowledge of God included in Tawheed-e-Zati, unity of essence. Here, the relationship existing between God and the creation is that existing between the lover and the beloved. Here, the lover is God and Muhammad is the beloved. God here possesses complete awareness of both himself and creation.
So here, according to Sufi, Vara ul Vara is the same as the Parat par Brahma state, or the beyond state, God. No sooner did the hidden treasure express a desire to know itself. Baba calls it a whim. At certain places, he calls it a hooky. Or at certain places, he says the primal force or the first word, who am I? So that is what is now reflected in the Sufi terminology as express the desire.
He becomes Noor, and from Noor he comes.
Okay, go ahead.
Wahid ul Wujud, unity of existence, is the first limitation of God in the beyond state and is one of the stages of the fifth sphere known as Lahut. This is the stage of conscious absolutism which, when used by the Arif ul Wujud, knowing existence, gives him the experience of both fana and baka.
We have done fana, fana fila, baka, baka bila, fana baka. There are three types of fana baka. We have done it. One is of the rudimentary type. Fana means you pass away in. Every time we go to sleep, we are in fana. We pass away in sleep. Yeah? And then when we wake up, we create our own universe. We create our own universe. Your universe is different, your universe is different, my universe is different. And therefore, Baba says that it is not that you are in creation, but actually the creation is within you. So when we create the universe, when we get up in the morning, we become Brahma, the creator. And right now we are sustaining the creator. We are preserving the creation of our own, of what we created. We are now preserving, sustaining. When we go back into fana, then we are dissolving or destroying the creation. So Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is replicated in our own being, that we create, we sustain or maintain or preserve, and then we suck in our own creation. So fana means to pass away in, and baka means to abide in. Here, right now we are in baka, we are awake, supposedly awake. Actually, it's a false awake state. So Baba talks about fana, fana fila, baka, baka bila, which we have already covered in the past.
This is...
One minute, Rakesh has a question.
Sorry. Abide.
Abiding in.
You stay in
abiding
it.
in.
We are
Abiding
staying,
in.
we are now awake, we are abiding, we are living in.
We are abiding. In short, it's an awake state. Baka. You are in the awake state. Fana, baka. Fana, baka. So one is the rudimentary type, which is right from the stone state till the human state. It comes as a fana, baka, rudimentary. Then we have fana, baka of the, of the involutionary journey from 1 to 6. And that is the second stage of fana, baka. And the third is the God-realized soul. The God, where they achieve not just baka, but baka bila. Living the life of God. Not abiding in, but living the life of God. You read through all the earlier ones, yeah. Okay, go ahead. She gets lost.
Why? Yeah, because I'm not making it. No, I'm in fana.
When we really get lost, that is when we find God,
Experience both fana and baka. This stage, like all other stages of the path, is beyond mind and intellect and cannot be encompassed in words, and includes Tajalli-e-Jamali,
This is, we are talking
Epiphany,
about the final Fanabaka, huh? The
Epiphany
real
of
Fanabaka.
beauty, and Tajalli-e-Jalali, Epiphany of beatitude. Tajalli-e-Jalali is that which confers on a soul the experience of fana, complete annihilation.
Fana means complete annihilation. When we go to sleep, there is complete annihilation. I am, but the consciousness that I am is not there. At that time, Baba says, you are actually not as if something like, somewhat like, no, actually one with God in the beyond state, which is state one of. You are actually one with God when we are in fana, when we go to deep sleep or sound sleep state. We are not talking about the dream state, where we unconsciously use the subtle faculties which we have. No, sound sleep state, where I am, but the consciousness that I am is not there. Same state where God is. God is the first state, where God is, but the consciousness that He is God is not there.
So I'll read again. Tajalli-e-Jalali is that which confers on a soul the experience of fana, complete annihilation, and Tajalli-e-Jamali endows him once again with the consciousness of normality known to the Sufis as Baka.
So
Permanency.
now when you are in fana fila, you achieve the state of mazubiyat, mazub, which is mazube kamil, mazube like must. Those on the planes we call must, but on the sixth plane we give a different title, mazub or mazube kamil. The ones who are like must, who are totally engrossed in God, who experience only God all the time, at the exclusion of anything else. They are not even conscious of their own body. They are not conscious of the gross, subtle mental world. They are not conscious of anything, nothing in creation. Only I am God state. Now retaining that I am God state, here now what Baba is talking about, you get back into the consciousness, retaining, that is never lost, the mental, subtle and the gross world. Those are called saliks, and they are in a state of sulukiyat. That means they are God, they experience I am God, they experience all the three ephemeral, phenomenal, temporal, transient, shadowy world of mental, subtle and gross, but they know it as shadow, they know it as dream, they know it as nothing into nothing, they know it as non-existing. Those are saliks, and they have no duty to perform towards creation, towards humanity. And from amongst those saliks, between salik and mazub and kutubs, kutub means the perfect masters, they are totally 56 God-realized souls at any given point in time. So amongst these 56 on earth, thank you, on earth, in Bombay. No, okay. No, now I am no more a Mumbaite, I am a Mehrabadi. Amongst these 56 God-realized souls on earth, there are only five at any given point in time, who are called kutubs or perfect masters or Sadguru, where like Salik, they have the experience of I am God, they have the experience of all the three worlds, of all the illusion, but they have duties to perform towards creation. They are kutubs or perfect masters or Sadgurus, then there are Saliks, and then there's a time, we have done the table, where out of 7, 4 leaves the body, 3 are there. We don't want to go into all that. Mazubs I am talking about. So that is how the entire spiritual hierarchy functions. Mazubiyat, Salukiyat, Kutubiyat.
Yes.
Sorry?
Salik is part of the 56.
They are part of the 50, the best part is, they are part of the 56, but they are not part of the spiritual hierarchy of 7,000 souls. Now this is confusing. Yeah, they are not part of it. There is a spiritual hierarchy of 7,000 souls. When the avatar comes, it becomes 7,001. The spiritual hierarchy of 7,000 souls are those on the subtle, those between subtle and mental, those between mental and all that. But the 48, that means 56 minus the 5, makes it 51. And then there are 3 mazubs. So those 48, mazubs are there, but those 48 do not form part of the spiritual hierarchy. Surprising, but true. And the spiritual hierarchy is headed by one of the 5 perfect masters, who is called the Kutub-e-Irshad. That post was held by Sai Baba of Shirdi till such time as Baba took over as the avatar, in which case he is known as the Sahib-e-Zaman. He takes over the entire spiritual hierarchy. 7,000. When the avatar is there, it is 7,001.
Yeah, so here, no, Baba is given on page 256, you'll find it, that there are, in the first plane and also between the first and second, between
First,
second
all
and
that
third,
calculation
all
is
that,
there.
there are 5,600 souls, members, they're called members.
No, you read that the 48 do not form part. At any given time, they are there.
But,
For all you know, I was just going to say you may be.
yes,
Who? Sorry, I didn't
Saliks
get.
are in the best place.
Who?
Saliks. Salik.
Yeah.
Because they have no duty to perform, they're enjoying all of it, but they're shortlisted to become
In a sense, they are
What?
shortlisted.
They are
Yes.
shortlisted to
If the
become-
perfect master drops a body, one of the
One of the
saliks
saliks will
takes
become.
the place immediately. It is never that we are running short of.
he
perfect
cannot,
master.
like, he'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah, okay, I'll grant you that. Okay. Rakesh wants to be a salik and not a perfect master, because then he has to do
Perfect
a lot
master
of work.
Jhanjhat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Saliks have no
No.
duty to perform. So, one minute. I can't, as it is, I am a little. Yeah. Mazubs have no consciousness even of creation. They have no consciousness of, they are not creation conscious. But if somebody serves the mazubs, takes care of, then they are spiritually benefited. And Salik can make one person like himself before he drops the body. And perfect masters can make as many as God realizes, as many as they want, something like that. So the Saliks are like waiting list for the perfect master. If perfect master drops the body, the Salik takes it. Sorry?
make.
Yeah.
They can make means
One perfect like himself. That means bestow God realization,
They can
because they are
bestow.
astral. After all, they are perfect.
they can bestow.
They can bestow. So make friendship with some Salik if you know.
No, only with the avatar. No,
Okay.
no, only with the
Okay.
avatar.
We'll think about it later on.
So,
So
here
I think we are
here
fairly clear about Mazubiyat, Salukiyat, Kutubiyat.
like, see, Baba says, in the second plane,
Don't bother about the calculation now. Since you are a little
why?
unsure about the 48, find out the figure 48 here and read that part if you want to. Sorry?
the end. Inventory, yeah, Baba only. He is the one.
Acha, you want to continue with
No,
7,000 or continue with?
No. Because you were mentioning, I just looked it up.
There are 7,000. That's
But
the
I-
entire spiritual hierarchy. So many souls in between first and second. Yeah, there are quite a few.
In between ones are 5,600. Then he is going to say in the second plane how many there are. That means the in-betweens, there are so many. Anyway. Meher Baba.
Page number 268, I suppose.
Yeah. The last
69.
line, this stage, like
No, I think you read this.
this stage, like all other stages of the path, is beyond mind
You read that,
and
huh?
intellect
You
and
read
cannot be
all that, Swami.
encompassed. Yeah. Tajalli Jalali.
No, Tajalli Jamali also. This latter is the highest spiritual manifestation known as Fakr or
Fakra.
Fakiri.
Fakra or Fakiri.
Fakra, okay. Thus,
In Alame Lahut and in Alame Hahut of the fifth, the real sphere, are the
There are
stages.
7 planes, sorry, there are 7 planes, but 5 spheres. It was a little confusing when we did that, spheres, There are 5 spheres, of which, the subtle, and then there is composite, there's a lower composite, then the mental, and higher composite.
Middle
and,
composite.
And then there is a real. So there are 5 spheres. I'm not going to do that again, and 7 plane. 7th plane is equivalent to the real sphere, the 5th sphere. Okay.
Thus, in Alame Lahut and Alame Hahut of the fifth, the real sphere, are the stages of perfection in the respective aspects of Ashik or Mashuk, lover and the beloved in one, and Ashik, lover, and Mashuk, beloved, simultaneously.
So they have become one. The lover and the beloved have become one.
In Alame Jabrut, mental sphere, are the stages of Ashik, lover, and Arif, Gnostic. In Malakut, subtle sphere, is the stage of enumerator of attributes, and in Nasut, the gross sphere, is the stage of Waqif, gross conscious one. Describing these stages in the ascending order, when Waqif, the conscious one, becomes more conscious, he enters the stage of Wasif, attributes, and from Wasif, he arrives at the stage of Irfan, gnosis, and from Irfan, he reaches the domain of the mysteries of God, Marif. From the stage of Marif, he is presented with the sight of God, which confers upon him the status of a lover.
So only then he is really known as a lover on the 6th plane.
And when he ultimately becomes love, he finds that he himself was the end all and be all of everything. In this stage of Huyat, everything is dissolved in the I am God state of God.
So here we end supplement number 34 on page number 269. Now we go back to page number 161 or 162.
160.
So again we are going back to the main text of the 10 states of God. How much time do we have?
All the time.
Oh, we still have. No, I thought I could take up. Anyway, I thought I'll take up the 10 states independently because. No. But now let's go as the rhythm goes.
State 1.
Say God, the page number.
160.
Sorry?
160. 160.
Okay.
State 1. God in the beyond state.
I think when you put this on the net, the 10 states of God chart has to go in at this stage. Because we are starting from state 1, God in the beyond state. The chart which is there.
This state of God is so transcendent that nothing can really be conceived of it. It is utterly pure and immaculate and has no tinge of otherness. It is the hidden of all hidden knowledge and the internal of all internal realities.
1 minute. Chart 8, 10 states of God. It's there. It should be there.
Facing which page?
Facing page number 158. Facing page number 158, chart 8, the 10 states of God. It's there on the face. Okay, go ahead, Swami.
It is beyond all words, and so it cannot be adequately described. It is neither finite nor infinite, neither attributeless nor with attributes. In this domain, the wings of thought, inference, discrimination, and understanding are limp and useless.
And nothing can be said about that. Okay.
There is a quote by Hafiz, Bi khiyal dar na gunjad, tu khiyale khud marza, zi zahat, buwad, mubarra, matlab, bahik, suyash.
As always, as always, we pray that people who know the language forgive us for the pronunciations, because I know these are not the correct pronunciation.
We are trying our best.
We are
to
trying our
pronounce-
level best, yeah.
Yeah. He cannot be grasped by the mind, therefore, do not exert yourself to understand him. He is free of all directions, therefore, do not try to seek him anywhere. Like Jahat means direction, Z means Lord. Then Mubara means free and or absolved. Matlab means seek or deserve. So some words, the meaning we know, but the pronunciation. Meher Baba says that when one who has realized this state of God tries to describe it to others, this act results in a description not of the first, but of the second state of God in the beyond state.
That we did earlier, that all God realized souls, when they try to express or explain, they can only go up to God in the beyond state, which is the Paramatma state, and not the Paratpar Parabrahma state, because nothing can be said about it. So they start from there and they end up in God in the beyond state. Then, because basically, we have done this earlier, that basically the whole of creation is nothing but a so-called journey from unconscious divinity to conscious divinity itself. The consciousness is gained in the very first human form. Full consciousness, whole and complete. No further extension, expansion, evolution of consciousness. No, it is complete. But only thing is the consciousness is burdened with mountain loads of impressions or sanskaras which we have gathered, which has stuck to our consciousness through the whole travail of the evolutionary journey. So now the whole point of reincarnation is to get rid of all the garbage and the trash which we have created, which we have, let's say, accumulated in the hope. But that was necessary at that time, because only with the evolution of sanskaras we were able to evolve the form. Baba says that evolution of consciousness precedes evolution of forms. Every time we change, we need to change the form, because the consciousness is loaded with such impressions which that particular form cannot handle. So we need a more and more complex or complicated forms, more and more higher forms, in order to experience the accumulated samskaras of the lower forms. And that is how there is an evolution. And Baba says when we speak about evolution, we are speaking about evolution of consciousness, and not as what Darwin talks about evolution of forms, as preceding consciousness. No, consciousness precedes and form follows. In one of the sentences, evolution of forms is the byproduct of the factory of the evolution of consciousness. Something words to the effect. So evolution of form is a byproduct. The basic thing is evolution of consciousness. Yes, sir.
Something similar to that, which I wonder if you could tell me, which has to do with when you drop the body. A certain number of sanskaras from one form are burnt up, and then sanskaras from this life form the next life. Is that correct?
Basically, yeah, what Jamie is asking is, Baba says that at the time of death, each death is very positive, is very good. Why? Because the shock of death is so much on the mind that the sanskaras which has a tight grip over us, they get loosened. At the time of death, we have both so-called good and so-called bad sanskaras. Right? We may have done some good things, we may have done some not so good things, we call it bad. And depending upon the preponderance of sanskaras, which is heavier, Baba gives a very superb example of a weighing scale. In India, we used to have it, a scale where there are two pens, and you put one measuring stone on one, and then on the other you put vegetables or fruits or whatever it is, and that's how you measure. So Baba says it's like a weighing pan. Supposing your good sanskaras are more, so the pan is like this. So you have the prepondering positive or good sanskaras, or sanskaras of virtues. So you will experience the intense mental state of heaven. There is no place. It's not, as I said, you cannot Google search or GPS where is heaven. It's a mental state. And when somebody asks, is it for real? And Baba said, it is as real or as illusory as the state which you are in now. We think this is real, but according to the truth, it is unreal, it is illusory. So when we go to heaven or hell, we consider that as real, but actually it is also illusory. It is also impermanent. It is not that once you are in heaven, you will stay in heaven forever, or once you are condemned to hell, you will be in hell forever. So when I am in heaven, what I do is I start having very enjoyable, pleasant, blissful experiences because my samskaras are good. And as I am experiencing the state of heaven, my samskaras are being expanded, utilized, spent. And so gradually my pen is becoming lighter and lighter. A brilliant example which Baba gave was that of an ice block. A block of ice kept, and as the ice is melting, the pen is becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. Now, you can never reach balance, neither in that semi-subtle or astral world, or even in the physical gross world, because the balance has to be quantitatively and qualitatively balanced, which we cannot do it unless with the grace of the perfect master or the avatar. So as you are coming close, when it is about to get balance, the residual samskaras will determine whether I should be in Eastern world or Western world, whether I should be a male or a female, whether I should be in this religion or that religion, in this family or that family. So in that sense, we choose our own life based on the residual samskaras. Very seldom it may happen that as you are enjoying it so much gati, we call it speedily, that the balance tilts. So now what has happened? The so-called negative samskaras or samskaras of vice has now become preponderant. So based on this residual samskaras, we take birth again. So in that sense, we choose our own destiny. We choose not in a sense of conscious choosing, I want to go there, I want to go in this family, but samskarically, we get pulled into that atmosphere, into that family, into that hemisphere.
We are co-creators.
Co-creator, We get pulled into that so that we get the optimum and the best opportunity to get rid of those samskaras. Because the whole game of samskaras is like Uno. There's a game called Uno, card game, where you have to drop all the cards and the person who has dropped all the cards becomes the winner. So our journey is, our samskaras have to be all eradicated, spent, experienced, expanded, without incurring fresh samskaras. So when you are, because every time we do an act or we think or we speak, we are spending. But simultaneously we are also amassing or accumulating the samskaras. Does this address your question? Or
Do you have something in mind?
Doesn't seem like yes.
It's something, and I don't remember it exactly, which is why I asked about the sanskaras from my past life, my last life.
Yes, it will continue.
Only
The sanskaras from my last life created this life.
correct.
And the sanskaras, and then when those are spent, I drop the body.
Absolutely.
And the sanskaras from this life.
Correct. What you are saying is absolutely correct. The samskaras of your last life will create this life. But which samskaras? The residual samskaras. Because
That
the
is why the
others you have
plan-
already spent
Yeah, you
in that
already-
state. There is only one-way traffic. No amassing, no accumulating. It's only giving, it's only expanding, it's only spending. So to that extent, when you start a fresh life, you start with very little amount of samskaras, which will determine your this life. So that plus what you are co-creating here now becomes the mold of your future lives. And
Not only this, but I may have so much on the table. So I pick and choose that, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. And that's how I bring that mold of sanskaras in this life to live. But as Baba would have, that's why he wants us to have him as a constant companion, so that we don't add to whatever karmic residue that we end up having when we act.
That's a different thought.
So that is why so that we become lighter.
Okay.
So
Now
every time we come with, and then we finish and we go.
We have only 5 minutes, and don't continue. Why? Because you brought in a thought which is a very good thought. My limited understanding from Baba's literature is karma bandhan, which means you get bound by karma or samskaras. What is the formula? The formula is you do something, action. You are doing some action. Plus, I am the doer. We call it kartutva abhiman. Karta, I. The egocentric I am the doer, is equal to karma bandhan, which means is equal to bondage of karma. Right? Now, if you do good things, very, very good things, I did this, I did that, charity, help, this, that, whatever. But if there is a thought that I am the doer, I get bound by good karmas or good samskaras. In order to be emancipated from life, there should be no karmas, no good, no bad. But here I have got a lot of good karmas, which can be balanced out by somebody doing good to me, because then it is being balanced out. Or I do something so-called bad, which again balances out my karma. So in other words, my limited understanding says you cannot stop actions. We'll be doing that 31 which has been left out, which is on action and inaction. Very brilliant supplement. You can't stop action. Even if I say I don't want to do anything, I just want to lie down, I don't want to do anything itself is an action. You see, which will again bind us. So you can't stop action per se, so to speak. Now there is that formula plus doership, I am the doer. That can be replaced by, according to Baba in the discourses, before starting any work, before doing anything, you need to create a temporary, provisional samskara or ego, which is subservient to that of the master. In other words, in simple terms, you honestly and sincerely feel, think and behave as if I am not the doer, it is Baba who is doing through me. I am not the doer. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say, is that I am unconcerned, detached, unaffected with the results. So I am not the doer. Now when I am not the doer, that means my limited, self-centric ego mind is absent. And when it is absent, is equal to no fresh binding of samskaras. So on one hand, I am expending or spending my past samskaras. I am discharging my battery, energy, which has been loaded with a lot of energy and so I am discharging. On the other hand, I am not recharging with I am the doer, is equal to gradually reducing my load of samskaras, till such time when it comes where my gross samskaras get transformed or transmuted into subtle samskaras. And if I am wise enough to continue doing in that fashion, I am not doing it. It is Baba. But that has to be absolutely and honestly done. Then over a period of time, your samskaras gets wiped out. In other words, transformed from gross to subtle, subtle to mental, and then zero samskaras. That is one way I thought is a workable way, a doable way of at least reducing and not creating fresh samskaras in whatever we are doing. To create a provisional ego, Baba uses that word, provisional ego, which is subservient to that of the master, which in simple language means I am not affected by results, I am not pumped up and blown up if somebody says, wow, you did a wonderful thing, thank you Baba. Or if somebody says, hopeless, good for nothing, you are absolutely a bore, I felt so It doesn't affect me, it doesn't trouble me, it doesn't disturb me, because I am not the doer. It is Baba who is doing it. If I am in that state of equanimity or equipoise, where nothing is disturbing me, then we can truly and rightly say that I have created a provisional ego, which is Baba, who is doing everything through me. So I am not affected. So, since you brought that topic about not accumulating fresh samskaras, this is one doable methodology which Baba talks about. And that is the reason why Baba says, keep me constantly as your companion. Before doing anything, think it is Baba who is doing it. After doing that thing, offer it to Baba and do not be concerned or worried about the results. And when we do that ongoingly, there is a very high probability that on one hand, we are spending our past accumulated samskaras, and on the other hand, we are not accumulating fresh ones.
Baba had said, no, I think to Elizabeth Patterson, he had explained, God plus Elizabeth, no.
Elizabeth plus samskaras is equal to God. So if Elizabeth is equal to God should be, then you have to remove. The only thing that is needed to be removed is the samskaras. But the fun of it is, if I call it a fun, that whilst we are removing, say example, 10 points of samskaras, we are accumulating 12 points. So Baba has said that each life is each human form, each human life is an opportunity to realize God. But instead of reducing the samskaras, we finally end up accumulating much more than what you originally came with. And we get bloated with those samskaras, which again we have to, it may be good, it may be bad. If it is good, we experience heaven. If it is bad, so-called bad, we experience hell. But we accumulate much more than what we spend, what we came with, because we don't apply and employ this modus operandi, which has been very brilliantly given to us by Baba, because we don't read deeply into Baba's discourses and other literature. If we do that, then we'll be much lighter when we go back. If we are not fortunate enough to remember Baba. Otherwise, when we remember Baba, howsoever heavy we may be, Baba's promise is, if you remember me at the time of breathing your last, that soul comes to me. Any more questions? We stop there, Mark. We are ending on page number 161, is it? Yeah. So just for record's sake. Any questions? Great. So I think we've done with, right? Yeah, 602. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Thank you, Baba. Thanks to all of you. Jai Baba.
No, we are on page 160 only. We have not come
160. Okay, we are on page 160.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you all. Thanks, Rakesh. Thanks, Rohit. Rochit? I don't know why I get this Rohit thing in my bloody brain. Now from...
No, you're not Rohit.
Okay,
you are
not
Rochit.
You are Rochit. Okay. Sorry. Hi. Jai Baba.